G'day, my name is Dainsy and I have solved a massive problem in this very small workshop space. See this pile of stock sitting behind me on my workbench, rendering my workbench pretty useless as a workbench or an assembly area, and it's also inhibiting additional infeed that I need when I'm working on the table saw. That is what I'm going to solve in this video. This project starts with my absolute last piece of pallet wood slab. It is actually an offcut of the 3.6 meter bench that I made for my wife, which was like a 2-station bench. I later turned that into a 1-station bench and I was left with this chunk of wood. And I have been on a bit of a mission lately to use as much stock as possible that is literally lying around the shed. Firstly, what that is doing, it is helping me declutter my space. Secondly, it is saving me a lot of time because I'm not having to produce new stock. I'm not having to go look for timber, salvage, collect pallets, etc., etc. And thirdly, along with the decluttering, I want to thin out the shed as much as possible, just in case I need to pack up and leave anytime in the near future, or not quite near future. Just to bring you up to speed, in case you don't know, we have actually sold our house, so I no longer own the shed. We are not leaving our property anytime soon. All it means is there may be a bigger shed in my future. It also may mean there might be a smaller shed. I don't really know yet. But in the meantime, all I'm going to do is continue to make my space as good as it can be. Now, you may hear me bang on about going full business human one day. Live the dream. The main business out here is actually producing video and primarily being a YouTuber. So everything that I make out here has to be of some value or some interest, give some sort of level of inspiration to you, the viewer. And it also has to be fun for me to design, make, and solve all the problems along the way. The other thing at the moment is my day job is doing its very best to steal away my shed days. And I love coming out here more than I like going there. So every minute I have out here, it really has to count, and of course, make me feel good on the inside. Okay, let me show you the concept for this thing, the project. Let's call it a desk for now. A desk with some under desk storage. But the main event, for me anyway, and a bit of a woodworking nemesis for me anyway, are these side components with the nice curved ends. Quick blab on the pallet wood bricks. Firstly, I have a very limited supply of bricks, and secondly, I want a thin strip of color veneer bordering the bricks so they look like bricks. The best way that I have found is to laminate 2 sides of each block. Then I can come back and slice these blocks up into tiny little brick veneers. Then as I lay the bricks, they are nicely framed by the colored skateboard veneer. I need to start doing some experiments to see just how far I can bend the pallet wood. I don't want to do steam bending. I don't want to do kerf cut bending or even use an iron. I know veneer is what I want to do because I have an absolute finite amount of pallet wood slab left, and I need to stretch it as far as humanly possible in this project. I have about 2,000 by 600 millimeters of surface area to cover, so whatever that equals, a large desk is what I need to cover, and also look cool. I want a very large, obvious curve or radius on the edge of the bench, an arc well outside the limit of any router bit. Curvy ends. I want curvy ends, that's all. Just want some nice curvy ends. Here is my 100 mil or 4-inch pipe, 50 mil radius. About what I can get away with bending the pallet wood laminations. This way, there is 2 layers there. What I might do now is create the form for the ends to then figure out the next stage, which is getting a whole sheet to wrap around like I'm picturing in my brain. Okay, I'm going to put my safety police / keyboard warrior prevention hat on whilst I show you how I cut these veneers. It is the same routine as I have always done. However, Each cut is with a very short piece of stock. The main issue here is it's difficult to push the stock and the thin veneer through to the other side of the saw. Many reasons for that. I'm finding I'm getting a lot of breakages as I try and knock the veneers away from the saw blade and from the featherboard, and supply is very light on. I copped a few suggestions on Instagram to turn the saw off after each cut. Yes, that is the ultimate safe solution. However, like all things in life, we have to apply a little bit of risk management so we can be practical and actually get the job done. I had to make this cut about 180 times. Turning the saw off in between each cut is very impractical when time is of the issue. So that is why we put all these things in place, like push sticks, featherboards, thin strip jigs, and now the humble kitchen tongs. It lets me grab the veneer safely and get on with the next cut. The other thing I've been up to lately is learning how to use SketchUp, and stupidly, I've probably waited far too many years to just get started. And the good thing about SketchUp is you can design intricate, detailed parts and then send them over to the CNC and have the CNC cut those parts. And for me, I can get that machine woodworking while I'm over here doing all the other woodworking. Taking the plunge on SketchUp has been the best decision, I tell you. I'm glad I did this, as it is opening up a whole new world of design and brain power for my projects. The design process has been as enjoyable as the actual woodworking process. For those watching on and thinking that it all seems too hard and well beyond your tech abilities, trust me when I say it really isn't. I did not do a course or pay anyone to learn SketchUp. All I did was watch and follow along with the Four Eyes furniture tutorials. I start the video, do the steps, figure out all the tools, and that was enough to basically get me underway. Then I would just start to try some more complex ideas, and if I couldn't actually figure something out or know which was the right tool to use, you just jump on YouTube and there's literally a million videos showing you exactly what you need to do. In short, there is not a huge learning curve, in my opinion. Unless computers, screens, programs, apps are completely foreign to you, all I'm going to say is just get started. Right, quick update. I've got to make some veneer. I'm going to use these bed slats, they're pine, for two reasons. One, I don't want to buy veneer just to do these edge pieces. Sorry, the main reason is the thin top coating. My decorative palletwood veneer is very thin. If I just wrap that over the mold, it would probably get dinged up and chip and break and get a massive hole in it. So I want to get a few layers of pine veneer underneath to strengthen up that curve. Obviously give that veneer something to glue to in total as the vacuum bag brings it in. It's many reasons. There's many reasons. So I'll just show you. Okay, I think I'd just like to thank the CNC for helping me do this, and SketchUp, obviously. Got to thank SketchUp, taking the plunge and learning something new, because it certainly is paying off. The plywood isn't exactly 19mm, so it's a little bit loose. Not sure I've built anything this precise ever. But it's cool. I love it. The not quite 19mm ply is the problem, because I think it might be 17mm, because it looks like there's exactly a 2mm gap everywhere. I think it is 17mm. Let me measure it. 17mm. I knew that. Why have I been typing in 19? Dickhead. To recap, this was just the dry run assembly. After cutting all the pieces based off 19mm designs, I had to recut the sidewalls, but this also let me design in some bolt holes in case that is how I choose to attach these things later on. So my new parts have exactly a 17mm mortise or rebate to accept the framework. Exactly 17mm is very tight. Very, very tight. So I sand a little of the form ply face off to help insert them. I also put a chamfer around each frame, and not just to feel good on the inside, but because I'm having CNC cut all these parts, there is a tiny curved edge in all the corners, and this chamfer will provide the clearance for all the parts to pull in nicely. Alrighty, it is time for the glue up. What could possibly go wrong? Shit. Wrong way. Oh. Oh. Oh no. Oh. Oh, I got a cramp in my arm. Oh no. Get out there, man. Oh. All that planning and they ran the wrong way. Oh my god. I literally just did the same thing. Okay, the big gap. Not the fat piece, I need the big gap. The big gap. Trust me when I say that balls up was not for video. My balls ups are never for video. I've got a couple of spares. I'll probably have to cut some more because I broke 2 in that process. All this extra clamping is because of the error I made with designing this whole thing around 19 mil. So I needed to close that 2 mil gap. The only drama is we have these bits protruding. We can come back later, clean those off. So these panels aren't glued in. I'll be able to take those off now. They literally help me bring all this together nice and square. What I needed, I've got a double thickness recess here for the top. So the top is nice and strong. The rest of the side is just carcass for the veneer to go onto. Okay, also needed just to turn off all the noise. I've had the CNC raging away, 2 fans, dust extractor while I was doing that. A lot of noise. It's gonna take 5. Okay, it's too hot. I've got to turn the fans on. Let me tell you more about the project and the huge problem that I have solved in this small space. This video is actually sponsored by FlexiSpot, and I have their E7 Plus 4-legged standing desk, and it is a solution to all my small workshop problems. Stick with me. Firstly, I chose the 4-leg desk because of the rock solid ability. It is essential for what I do out here. This project is going to give me a standing desk, obviously, but more importantly, it is going to give me an extended outfeed table, another assembly area / project storage area that can be lowered down or raised up as appropriate. Like, see this project on the go. It is inhibiting the infeed for one, and my workbench currently is unusable. Imagine being able to lower this stuff out the way, giving me back my workbench. The E7 Plus has a 540 pound static weight capacity, 440 pound lift capacity, and has 3-stage legs suitable for all height. I'll be programming height for a level bench height, a minimum height for below bench level, a nice height for my standing position, making it easy for me to see my laptop and run the CNC. They come with a 15-year warranty with a 30-day risk-free return. You can check out the E7 Plus 4-legged desk at flexispot.com. So if you like, you do have the chance to upgrade to the FlexiSpot E7 4-legged desk, standing desk, and use my code YTE7P50 at the checkout for $50 off. You just have to click the link below to get yours and experience the ultimate in stability and performance. They also have special discounts for medical, students and graduates, teachers and military that are all on their website. Alrighty, just pulled up at Dan's house. I've got the new Dainer made t-shirt on because I'm pretty sure Dan's going to have his Riverside Woodworks t-shirt on, and I just want to make sure he can tell us apart. Oh, and also, I now sell these t-shirts on my website. A little bit of merch for anyone that wants one. Thank you. Now, normally I like to get everything done for the project here in my own shed. However, this time I really need these veneers super thin, which I have done in the past with a belt sander. However, it's very hard to get a nice, even, consistent thinness. So luckily for me, my mate Dan has a drum sander and lots of patience. Drum sanding is a very slow process, especially when I turn up with about 15 sheets and boards, all to be sanded and thinned down. Also, Dan makes cool stuff, and I've linked him below if you want to go and check him out. Back in the shed, getting the second carcass glued up, that all went just fine, and I'm ready to start the veneering process. I made a couple of end caps, and that is purely to stop the vac bag getting sucked inside of the carcass, potentially causing a tear. And with that, I'm all set for a dry run. I have done a fair bit of veneering with this bag and I'm feeling pretty good. What could possibly go wrong? Okay, quick live update. Now, this one is a dummy run. There's no glue in here. Everything is worked mostly to plan. The only drama here is the thickness of the veneer has actually caved in slightly on this corner. Now, that's the whole point of this veneer. I'm going to have 2 layers of the pine and then the top layer so that we get a lot of strength here. I'm thinking, to be on the safe side, I might try and glue 2 layers together so that there is more support on the actual corners, and then come back and put the top layer on. But what I don't want to have to do at the end is sand any jagged edges like this one right here. So you can see the veneer's caved in, so that is not what I want. Bit of a bastard to get it into the bag as well. So all right, well, I'm thinking I'm gonna tap my fingers a bit more and have a crack. Here we go. Attempt number 1. I have 2 layers in the bag and it is a struggle to get them in the bag, I must admit. I have not actually held the sheet down with a great deal of tape other than on the first edge to keep it square. The pine is bendy enough, but I don't want to risk cracking it along one of the glue seams. I was hoping the bag would pull the veneer down nice and evenly. What actually happened, absolute disaster, was the veneers moved significantly and I could not recover their correct position. So I had to pull it out of the bag, wipe off the excess glue and go again. So the plan, I'm going to still do it in sections. I want to get the corner done with 2 layers of veneer so it's nice and strong. I'll aim to get the top 2 layers over, and halfway across the top, I can come back later and put in the missing piece. I want to get this done today, as in just get one side on safely. A massive bag would probably help me out here, but I don't have one. I've got some veneer down. Now, what I really didn't want to happen was one of the veneer seams to create a sharp angle. Now, I have got 2 layers in here. I'm hoping that I can sand these flush, and then that'll give me the nice, smooth base layer that I need. As long as that edge is nice and strong, then we're laughing. Oh, get a bigger bag. Fair dinkum. Right, I just blew this thing up with a vacuum to see if I could find the pinprick. There's a massive tear in the seam. I am going to attempt to seal it up because time is of the essence. Okay, so it hasn't been going exactly to plan. Now all I have left is enough veneer to do a double layer over each corner, and then I can come back and patch up all the missing pieces. After the fact, I can chop some more veneer. I found one more piece of pine in the shed, but this might help me keep it a little more manageable. The other thing I've done is I've cleaned off all the pieces hanging out the edges. I'm just trying to make my life easier as these things go into the bag, because at the moment it's a bit of a fight. It's weird, they don't seem as flexible when they're smaller. I hope that's not going to cause me any grief. Now that I've said that, it probably will. If you recall, I said I don't want to steam bend, kerf cut, or even use an iron. In the end, the simple secret was a wet cloth. I simply wiped down the veneers with water so the fibres of the wood naturally rolled over, which prevented further cracking and the sharp seam bends from occurring. What I also did was start wetting down the final layer of the palletwood veneer, and I would leave that hang over a piece of PVC overnight, as I could not afford any more failures. Luckily for me, I got there in the end just fine. Right, time to move on and get back to the other type of woodworking where everything is square and designed in SketchUp, where you figure out heaps of your mistakes before you make them and now can just cut all the pieces as per the plan. From here, all I want is a nice looking drawer underneath the desktop where nothing else could possibly go wrong. Especially when I make drawers. They are perfect first time, every time. Okay, so I'm actually at the part where I'm going from SketchUp plan, getting the measurements, making the part. First blunder, I was meant to have a recess, so this panel is flush with the tabletop, which was no big deal. I just took it onto the table saw, used the stock to remove the material that I needed removed, didn't take into consideration the blade width, so I've now got an extra 3mm, which I don't want. I don't want to reduce the size of the tabletop. I've worked out all these measurements to be exact. So, okay, that original error has now had a third flow-on effect. It needed to be 75 in to allow for these pieces to be hung. I need to juice this one up a little bit. This is the subframe for the drawer. When I designed the underbench drawers and supports, I had to consider the standing desk motors to work with the design. Initially, that was all fine prior to the few errors, and those errors in hindsight actually highlighted a few deficiencies with the plan, only really presented themselves during assembly time. One of these things is that I pretty much needed to commit to building in and around the frame and motors. It was only here that I thought I'd better install the electronics and test everything is going to work and cooperate with my design. It does. Moving on. Alrighty, live update. I've had success in laminating my veneer onto these nice curves. There's no breakthrough. I've been able to clean it up beautifully. I've got a nice round edge. These things have been in and out of the bags plenty of times. Like, had to do it in stages, as we've just seen. So I went from hero to zero. Now, if you remember, I cut those U-butte holes with the recesses on the CNC because at that stage of the game I was thinking that these may be able to be bolted on with threaded inserts or something. I hadn't actually thought that part through, but the whole idea was I knew this would be covered in veneer. I could get my hand inside, put the bolts in, do them up, and it would clamp these against the rest of the table. Now here's the balls up. This one is great. This one is upside down. I was running out of veneer, so I would veneer the top, sides, and part of the way around because it'd be the underside and you would never see it. Final coat went into the bag. I started on the bottom edge, leaving my holes down the bottom where there's no way to attach this thing to the table down there. As I'm now figuring out that you can design something U-butte on SketchUp, and then practically when we bring it in here and put the thing together, there's a whole range of other things you've got to figure out on the fly, which for me is half the fun. So we'll have to get in with the screw, with a tiny screwdriver, to get these things attached, as well as providing some more support to stop the wobble. Long-winded explanation, but hopefully there was some nice fluff playing in the background to keep you entertained. One more live update. I've got these drawer slides, right? Now I actually bought these by accident. They weren't even meant for this project. I thought I'll throw them on here. Didn't realize that they were these things. That's a pretty cool feature, and it's actually changed my ideas on how I'm gonna do drawer pulls if they do this, right? I just had to make some adjustments here because I've got to be able to push on the drawer so it slides out. Depth. Problems to solve shortly. I think it's going to be doable as long as the drawer face has a little bit of room to move behind here for that part. I think this is going to work. It has to work because these don't come out unless you push on them. We're committed. Another live update. It is time to do the drawer fronts. I had some Vic Ash. I didn't think it'd be enough, so I bought another one because there's a few steps to do here. I am going to veneer or thick veneer the drawer fronts. This piece, which I need for its length to span the distance of the main drawer, I couldn't have asked for a more worse, but more cool piece of timber. Worse in the fact that it's actually got a heap of bug holes, and although when they're filled with epoxy they look cool, these particular ones, they got round ends and I think it might actually look a little bit unnatural. So I want to get rid of those. The actual timber itself is full of, I don't know what. I've not seen it before, this much black spot, I guess, inside the Vic Ash. It's normally quite clean and pretty. These pieces here, they have a lot of Australia going on. Australia. Right? It's cool. I'm going to joint those ones together, get rid of the edges I don't want, then hopefully span it across the entire length. I don't quite have enough. I'm literally that much shy. So one of the drawer fronts, I'll use some of the leftovers to carry it on, but I think as long as those dots and all that continue on, it's probably going to be a little bit camouflaged. I like it. I'm going to do that. Another little hero to zero moment. After spending a heap of time planning out these continuous grain drawer fronts, what I did was trim off the wrong edge of the main drawer, which was then misaligned with the small end drawer that I cut on the CNC, misaligning, ruining my continuous grain drawer fronts. I've showed this project to a couple of people now, and I did get one comment from Jesper saying that this desk is way too nice to live in the shed. And if you are wondering why I am building a way too nice desk for the shed, well, let me tell you. What if YouTube ends? What if a more younger, handsome, funnier, and more talented Aussie comes along, like Anthony from Barbers, Paddock, Woodworking, and you subscribe to his channel? Because I always forget to ask you to subscribe to mine, because I figure, doesn't everybody know that we want you to subscribe? Maybe not. So I'm going to ask you, would you mind subscribing to my channel, please? My point is, what if all this video caper just ends? That's it, done. Well, I still want to create unique, interesting pieces of furniture. So I figure I have to level up and really try new things, push my brains and my skills to the absolute limit, and force myself to get better so one day I can be that unique furniture making bloke. And the bonus is, for now, you get to watch along and hopefully learn from all my balls ups. Just putting on the drawer fronts now. Everything is worked out pretty good. When I glued this piece on, in there it moved back probably about 1.5 mm, 2 mm maybe, which is also reflected on this edge. It's just slightly high around there. There's no going back from that one. We're just gonna have to live with that. I was trying to get this nice 2 mm gap everywhere, which I've almost got. This thing is living in the shed, but these are all the things that I'm trying to improve to get better at this out here. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it because there's nothing I can do now. I'm going to screw this on and I'm pretty much done. Okay, so I'm not pretty much done. I've got to go. Right, just let me cut in on here on live update Dainsy, who is explaining all the things that need to happen and all the things that have gone wrong from here to make these push to release drawers work seamlessly. You'll be absolutely shocked that they are not working nicely. So, two things. I should have went and got normal drawer slides. Why? So I would not have to go and figure out a million extra steps that I needed to do to make these drawers push to open, but still remain beautifully flush with the rest of the trimming. That was a nightmare in the end. Seriously, I hate drawers. And the other big issue, that I think anyway, is the width of these drawers is way too big for these drawer slides. Despite being a perfect fit and square as a square thing, they just have too much wobble, which ultimately inhibits their smooth operation. It's getting worse by the minute. I hate drawers. So, the plan from here is to finish the video once we get to the beauty shots. But from there, what I want to do is turn one big drawer into 2 or 3 smaller drawers. And the beauty of that is I have a second channel called Dainer Unofficial, and this project extension will be perfect for that, as I have heaps to show and heaps to bang on about. Alrighty, despite all the ups and downs, the balls ups and the disasters, I've really enjoyed making this project. And I do want it to be worthy of putting in one of my little Dainer branding coins. So hopefully once I make those modifications, it'll be just that. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Catch you later.